Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu. I don't know if this is going to work. So I don't have a good connection. And it's night. Well, it's not night. It's 5:30 in the morning. And the only place I can broadcast is outside the house. This seems to be the only place that we get internet. So we're going to try. And I'm going to go on to chat. Well, I'll wait till some of you come. Then we'll go on to chat and we'll see if I get any of you. I sense that this may or may not work. I'm outside, and there's no light out here. There's light in the house. This is the spot that I can get internet. At least so far, this is the best spot. So, and my sister's sleeping, so I assume you can hear me. Yes? I'm going to go to chat right now. And then if there's any problem with the reception or hearing or seeing, then just say something on chat, or worst case scenario, send a Skype message. If I go to check my Skype, it takes me out of Ustream, so it's better on chat. But if for some reason you can't do it on chat, you just let me know. Okay? I'm going to say something on chat. But I'm using my phone, and I don't. Okay. We'll see. Yeah. Can somebody write something on chat, just so I know you're here and you can hear me? I know we're connected. Yes, I know. It looks like a movie. Yes. Okay. The audio is very low. Maybe? Let me know if this changes it. Oops. Hold on. Does that make any difference? I mean, I'm trying not to talk too loud, but I have the microphone. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. What about now? Is that any better? Okay, the mic's right up here. Krishna, Krishna, Hare, Hare, Hare. Can you hear what I'm saying? Krishna, Krishna, Hare, Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna. What about now? Try to talk. Yeah. I have the volume down on the phone, and I don't know if that had any effect on the level of sound. Anyway, we'll go with what we have. See what happens. I'm going to read. There's a book that Shivaram Swami wrote called Same. That's weird. Shouldn't be the same. Hold on. What about now? Is that better? Maybe it wasn't plugged in all the way. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Should be fine, according to me. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. What about now? If it's the same now, I don't know what to say. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, If it's not loud, I don't, anyway, I don't have a way to adjust the volume other than my voice. I could talk like this, if that's okay. Hopefully, we should be all right. Anyway, let's see. Or put on your headphones, turn it up. So we're reading from a book. It's called Shuddha Bhakti Chintamani, the jewel of pure devotional service. And the last class we had finished prayer, and I wanted maybe to do something that could continue the topic. Such a nice topic. And so I could still hear, but volume was very low. Weird. Shouldn't be. How about this? Is that better? Should be better. I don't know. I've done something to this phone. Anyway, we'll have to go with it. So this is called Shuddha Bhakti Chintamani, the jewel of pure devotional service. It's based on nectar devotion and some of the teachings of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And this section is interesting. It's about unsteady devotional service, which, if we're unsteady, if we're unsteady, then we need to pray to be steady. So, but anyway, we'll have a discussion about unsteady devotional service. Although neophytes try to renounce thoughts of selfish pleasure, they are unable to do so. To gain strength, they vow to chant extra rounds, eat only once a day, fast completely on Ekadasi. Oh, hold on a second. We're going to record this. Oh, there's no card in it. I guess we're not going to record it. Okay. Okay. Let's do that again. Although neophytes try to renounce thoughts of selfish pleasure, they are unable to do so. To gain strength, they vow to chant extra rounds, eat only once a day, fast completely on Ekadasi, sleep only 5 hours a night, and so on. So, because they have all these desires, because we're neophyte devotees, then we do austerity, because we're not yet spontaneously attracted to Krishna. We have all these material desires that we bring over from our past. So we try to do austerity to purify ourselves. But no matter how hard they try, they cannot sustain their vows and thus fail to make advancement. In other words, you can't maintain austerity beyond what you are capable naturally. Like you can fast if you like to fast, and if it doesn't affect your body. It's something that you just naturally are attracted to doing, due to your nature or due to your spiritual advancement. So then you can do it. But if you're trying to do austerity that's beyond you, so you can't maintain it steadily, then after some time you'll give it up. Finally, distracted by the superficial benefits of devotional service, such as wealth, position, and respect, neophytes foolishly delight in these pleasures that are but more ripples in the great ocean of pure devotional service. So the danger always is that the things that you give up, you still are attached to, and then you have opportunity to enjoy them, even in Krishna consciousness, you may become distracted by them. And wealth, position, and respect are very attractive for a conditioned soul. Yes? And so in Krishna consciousness, there's opportunities to be dealing with money and getting respect. And because these tendencies are there within us, we might become sidetracked when they come to us. And it, of course, as you know, it's very common in the material world that when people achieve a high position, they become proud. And they think they're better than others, or they're just attracted to the honor that comes, or the power that comes with it, and they become controllers, or they become unkind, they become proud, thinking they're better than others, or on a more gross level, they just want to grossly enjoy their wealth or grossly enjoy their prestige by exploiting people. So they lose a sense of, even non-devotees, lose a sense of just humanity. Not even to speak of spiritual qualities, just their human qualities. Hmm. These 6 facets of unsteady service are formidable enemies. I think he was referring to other facets to make up 6. They make the initial stages of Krishna consciousness more a battle with Maya than a dip into the ocean of ecstasy. Still, the overall picture is neither bleak nor hopeless. A higher taste is available to all devotees. There is a great joy in tasting the auspiciousness, shubhada. It's one of the aspects of devotional service that it's auspicious. So he's saying that even in spite of the struggle, there's devotional service is so powerful and auspicious that still you can taste something at any stage. There is a great joy in tasting the auspiciousness, shubhada, and freedom from suffering, kleshagni. These are 2 of the 6 qualities. He was referring to the 6 symptoms of devotional service described in Nectar Devotion. These are 2. It's auspicious and frees you from suffering. There's great joy in tasting the auspiciousness and freedom from suffering that come from devotional service at any stage of practice. Furthermore, chanting Hare Krishna and preaching the philosophy give unparalleled happiness. These joys entice beginners forward and reassure them with glimpses of the halo of perfection. Astute, determined devotees thus remain inspired even while they struggle towards Krishna's lotus feet. They cultivate proper knowledge, guard against the pitfalls caused by their own shortcomings, and with patience and determination gradually rise to the stage of steadiness. So, I've explained this before. I'll explain again a little bit, and I just read something recently to confirm what I want to talk about. Oftentimes I've talked about the need for enthusiasm and determination on the lower stages of devotional service before you have a taste. And obviously when you have a taste for something, you don't need to be determined to do it because you like to do it, right? Yes. But determination comes especially when things are difficult or when there's not so much attraction or taste for doing it. Or like students who need to study, if they're more determined and self-controlled, if they don't like to study, they'll do it anyway. It may come to a point where they like to study at some point in their student life, but at the point when they don't like to study, it's pure discipline or even forced enthusiasm, just just to have the energy to get through it because it may be difficult or they may lack taste. So recently I was reading that Prabhupada said that very thing. He said, until you come to the stage of ruchi, which is about 5 stages, ado shraddha taru sarusanga, bhajana kriya, anartha nivritti, nishta, and then the 6th stage. So around nista or ruchi, the obstacles are removed. And then one develops steadiness and a natural taste. Prabhupada said up to these points, determination, struggle, it's going to be there. And when you understand this and you understand why, it's easier because there's not a natural attraction. So that's very important. In those verses, Rupa Goswami in Nectar of Instruction says, Utsaha nishtaya dhyat, be determined, patient, enthusiastic, that karma, all these things that you wouldn't have to tell someone to do if they had a taste. Because taste means you are enthusiastic, and you don't require determination if you have taste, because you have a natural attraction. So if we accept that until we reach the stage of nishta, or more specifically ruchi, we're going to require a lot of determination, even nishta, because when you're on the stage of nishta, which means steadiness, there is a lot of ruchi, taste, there's a lot of taste. And the more that taste grows, the more spontaneously or more naturally we're engaged in devotional service, and the less we require determination, because why, you don't have to be determined if you're naturally attracted to something. So that period until we come to nishta is, as Prabhupada is saying, it's a period where you'll have to struggle a bit. It's just the nature of it. So just know that. Don't be discouraged, but understand that there will be obstacles which are all internal. They're coming from our conditioning. And so we need to be very tolerant of them and somehow remain determined and enthusiastic in spite of them. And then we kind of roll over them, or we can push them aside. We have momentum. And if we focus on them, how strong they are, we can become discouraged and think we're not making any advancement. And I know a lot of devotees feel they're not making any advancement because the progress is not so noticeable. And it seems to be negligible. But we are making advancement, even if you don't notice it. That's why the example was given when you take off in a plane, you may not notice. More specifically, if you have a child, you don't notice how they're growing as much as other people who don't live with them. And they see them every year and they say, oh my, you've grown. And you kind of recognize they've grown, but you didn't really notice. So sometimes we're too close to our own advancement, or we should say too close to our own anarthas to notice that we're advancing. And the other thought is that we have no choice but to try to purify ourselves. So even if we feel, maybe I'm a hopeless case, I don't seem to be making much advancement, even if we feel that way, we don't have any alternative. And if you continue in the process, it'll work. It'll kick in. So sometimes the purification is taking place, but the heart is so dirty that we don't notice. It's like a dirty pot. It's the vegetable is burnt onto the bottom of the pot. So you might be scrubbing and scrubbing. You've actually got a lot of the burnt part off, but it's still covering the entire bottom of the pot, so you can't tell that you've actually cleaned it. And when you finally see the bottom of the pot, then you know, okay, something's happened. So sometimes we're cleaning, and all we're getting is more dirt from the bottom of the pot, and it's all black. And it doesn't seem like anything's happening, but it is, because you can see in the water's getting black, so something's coming on. So you have to, if you do devotional service properly, you have to become purified, or you are becoming purified even if you don't notice it. And so the trick is, when you confront your anarthas, to not become discouraged, and just keep going on enthusiastically, understanding that's the process. It's just what you have to do. Everybody has to do it. Every advanced devotee had to do it when they were young. The other point that's being made here is at the same time, devotional service is so powerful, so you do experience the purifying effects, the auspiciousness, the freedom from suffering, the happiness, but you just don't experience it as much as you will on higher stages. So that is what encourages the devotee, that there's something there. It's like we attend a very blissful class, or by Krishna's mercy we have a nice japa session, or there's an ecstatic kirtan, or there's senior devotee inspiring us. So we do experience very positive things. It's just in unsteady devotional service, those positive emotions, they don't remain. We flicker. That's what it means. Before you get to the stage of nishta, that one day you'll feel it, or you'll feel it in the association of senior devotees, or you'll feel it at special programs, special holidays, special times, and then you'll lose it. On higher stages of devotional service, you won't lose it. It'll become the way you always are, which is a lot to look forward to. Don't you think? That's a lot to look forward to. So, unsteady devotional service produces steady devotional service, but it has to be unsteady before it can become steady. And the only way to make it through unsteady devotional service is to be enthusiastic and determined, and think of it like a boat on a stormy ocean that you have. It's difficult, but you have no alternative than to fly through the water. Or maybe you'll need to anchor for a while, but you can't jump off the boat. Whoever stays on the boat will be okay. So let's read some more. These joys entice beginners forward and reassure them with glimpses of the halo of perfection. So by experiencing these things, you get some reflection of perfection. Astute, determined devotees thus remain inspired even while they struggle towards Krishna's lotus feet, because you know there's something there you're going to get, right? Krishna's given you a taste, and you know the real thing is there, but you're just getting a little bit of it. They cultivate proper knowledge, guard against the pitfalls caused by their own shortcomings, and with patience and determination gradually rise to the stage of steadiness. So knowledge is important, and everything that Prabhupada's given us in his books will give us an amazing amount of determination, an amazing amount of enthusiasm, because determination and enthusiasm come from wanting to achieve something, even if it's difficult to achieve, because you want it so much and you don't want anything else. And so by reading Prabhupada's books, you'll gain a very strong desire to want to be Krishna conscious. And that desire will pull you through all the difficult times, even when you don't have taste. It'll pull you through because you're very motivated by the goal, because your heart is being purified. And as your heart is purified, you want Krishna more and more. You may not be qualified, you may not be steady, but that desire to achieve Krishna consciousness is what keeps pushing you. And oftentimes, when devotees have difficulty, I ask them a question which I think is important, that we ask ourselves, what are your alternatives? Krishna consciousness is difficult, or I'm having difficulty, I'm unsteady in my practices, maybe I've fallen from some of my vows. So I become discouraged and even think, well, I was doing okay in material life, but spiritual life is so difficult, I'm not doing that well, maybe I should give it up. And we always have to think the alternatives are always worse to whatever struggles we're going through, whatever difficulties we face. It's worth it in the end, because in the end you get Krishna. But the difficulties you face in the material life, in the end you don't get Krishna. Right? So it's not really worth it. I mean, we have to think this way. You go like, what's the ultimate goal? Where will my activities take me? And what's worth it and what's not worth it? But certainly Krishna consciousness is worth it. It is important to note that the stages of unsteady practice, anishtita bhajana kriya, and the removal of unwanted habits, anartha-nivritti, go on concurrently. Although, in other words, as you're going through the stages till you come to nishta, that you just have to accept that there's going to be unwanted desires. It's those unwanted desires that are causing the unsteadiness. And it's as I was saying, it's just a stage that we all have to go through. So if you understand, this is a stage that everyone goes through. Dealing with anarthas, being unsteady as a result of anarthas, until we advance more and come to the stage of steadiness, then we can deal with it. Hopefully deal with it, or deal with it more easily. Although devotional activities done at the unsteady stage have limited potency, they are still agents to help neophytes give up most of their unwanted habits. The complete removal of unwanted habits happens only after devotees pass through the stages of attachment, asakti, and enter the realms of ecstasy and love. So it's interesting to note, I think we've talked about this, but even when you come to the stage of ruchi, it doesn't mean that there is no trace of material desire or false ego or some subtle desire to control and enjoy. And even it said when you come to the stage of bhava, which is the stage right before love of Krishna, it's still there in minute degrees. So we can understand it's a long path, and even on higher levels of Krishna consciousness, still some traces of material influence are there. And it's only on the stage of prema that it's completely purified. So it just shows you how deeply the conditioning goes. And when you understand this, then you can just acknowledge and accept that I have to get to the stage of prema to be completely purified. So if you're ever lamenting, I'm so impure, then the answer is, or the solution is, just get to prema, and you'll have no material desire. It's rare that one falls from the stage of bhava, but it's possible, because one is not completely pure. On the stage of prema, one will not fall. It's okay, you can say it's possible because we always have free will, but it's rare, unlikely. If it, we don't have any record in our shastra. Well, you might say we fall from the spiritual world. But in terms of those who achieve prema, and someone will say we don't fall from prema, we fall from bhava. That's another discussion. If, however, neophytes are not alert to correcting themselves, and if they succumb to the handicaps of their station, means their own anarthas, if they succumb to the handicaps of their own anarthas, then the very acts of devotion meant to free them from obstacles create even greater ones. In other words, devotional service, the means to overcome all impediments to joyful life, if improperly performed, can be the source of more obstacles and sorrow. These newly created obstacles add to the store of unwanted habits and make the next stage of devotion, anartha-nivritti, even more difficult. You saying you pick up bad habits, you bring in bad habits, and you pick up bad habits as a devotee. Or you could say, maybe we can also say that the bad habits become worse. You find a place to cultivate bad habits within bhakti because you're not doing it properly. And as we said, because Krishna is giving you facility to serve him, and then you're misusing the facility for sense gratification. So in that sense, Krishna consciousness does have a dangerous side to it because in order to serve Krishna, Krishna facilitates you. He'll give you some resources. He'll give you, if you do well, he'll give you some honor. So when you get resources and honor, he'll give you control also. You'll get position. You have resources, position, and honor, which can be quite dangerous. More, and you'll have more. Most of us will get more than we had before we were devotees. So we may not be used to all the resources that we have, and therefore it can go to our heads, and we take advantage of it for our own sense gratification, not necessarily even in a premeditated way, just because we're so conditioned to control and enjoy that when it comes to us subconsciously, spontaneously, our default setting kicks in. It agitates that desire. So you have to be really careful. A lot of this is subtle. You have something which can agitate tendency. And you realize that if you didn't have that, you wouldn't have done that. But Krishna gave you some facility to use in his service, and that agitated your tendency to control or enjoy. Scary, huh? Isn't it? It really can be. So you always have to be conscientious. That's the point. But whatever comes to me is meant for Krishna's service. I always have to be in the bhav, or the mentality, or the state of consciousness. I'm always a servant no matter what. And we have this very good advice that the higher you go, the more you become a servant. And that's the safe position. Because if you're going higher, that means so-called you're more advanced. And if you're more advanced, then you're more in the mood of a servant. That's a sign that you're more advanced, right? Isn't it? Oh, now the sun is rising. You might actually be able to see me before the class. The safest place is to always be in the mood, or the bhav, or looking for the proper word, maybe the consciousness, just the state where you're always, no matter what, you're always in the mood of servant. I'm servant, I'm servant, I'm servant. That's what I am. So it doesn't matter what happens to me. What's given to me, what's taken away. I'm high, I'm low, I'm servant. That's it. So I'll read that again. It's interesting. If, however, neophytes are not alert to correcting themselves, and if they succumb to the handicaps of their own station, the handicaps of your own nature, or station means the position you're in. So if, let's say, you're in the lower stages of devotion and you succumb to the difficulties within that station, that is unfortunate. Then the very acts of devotion meant to free them from obstacles create even greater ones. Excuse me. Hare Krishna. So this section is called Acts that Increase Unsteadiness. So in other words, these would be actions to avoid. Newly formed unwanted habits are a consequence of offenses, aparadhota, and mistakes made while practicing devotional service, bhaktuta. Unwanted habits arising from offenses usually come from offenses committed against the holy name, namaparad, not those committed in deity worship. The 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 offense, what is really one of the, sometimes when we make offense to the holy name, nothing happens. We're not going up, we're not going down. We're kind of on the lower ends of namavas, or the higher ends of namaparad, and nothing really happens. But if we offend the holy name, then we go down. So we want to be on the stage of namavas. And the stage namavas is where you're making an effort. So one of the dangers is you're chanting, but you're not making any effort to avoid the offenses. You're not making effort to chant properly. So that's the problem. That's the biggest problem in japa, is that I just don't care. Apathy. So that apathy, then it leads to offense, because I'm not trying to purify myself. And so offenses to the holy name, what will happen in due course, I can't say how long it'll happen, but material desires will again take over because these offenses act like water, but they water the weeds in the heart. So the same chanting is watering weeds instead of watering the creeper. So sometimes the material desires can grow very strong. So have to be careful, at least when we're chanting, that we're trying to chant well. Even if we're not chanting well, that is not, it's not good. But what's much worse is we're not even caring to chant well. We don't even try. I think many devotees feel that. They're not really making advancement. They feel kind of like they're just floating, but the ship's not moving. So you want to look at your chanting. That can make a huge difference in your Krishna consciousness. You make an effort and to avoid the fences, and then ideally you avoid them as far as possible. And you get absorbed, and very devotional when you're chanting, and you'll see that material desires will not have much influence on you. And it's, in one sense you could say that how much we're being affected by material desires reflects on the quality of our chanting. It may not be the only barometer, but it's one of the main ones. And sometimes it is the only one. I may be doing everything else well, but that's what's missing. So that's important to just consider that I can't go on continually in Krishna consciousness not chanting well. That I have to, when I'm chanting, I have to not just be chanting to get 16 rounds done, but I actually have to be desiring to be pure, praying to be purified. And that's the whole point. By committing any one of the 10 offenses against the holy name, especially those against Vaishnavas, great or small, results in further obstructions on the devotional path. Most devotees are familiar with this all-important list of 10 offenses. To be envious or to criticize pure devotees, to think that the demigods are equal to Krishna, disrespect or disobey the Guru, to disrespect the scriptures, to think that glorification of the holy name is empty praise, to interpret the holy name in a devious way, to commit sins on the strength of chanting, to consider chanting to be on the same level as mundane pious actions, to give the name to unqualified persons, not to have faith in or taste for the holy name, even after hearing its praises, and to accept the name without giving up material attachment. What should devotees do if they commit any of these offenses? If they know the specific act that caused the offense, they should immediately rectify it. Reaction to an offense against a Vaishnava, for example, is removed by falling at the feet of the offended Vaishnava and sincerely begging for forgiveness. If for some reason the Vaishnava fails to offer that forgiveness, then the offender should immediately serve the Vaishnava till the Vaishnava offers his or her forgiveness. A lot of devotees say, well, I apologize, they didn't accept it, so what do I do? And here's the answer. Serve them, as difficult as it may be. And give it your best. I know that's humbling. I know that's difficult. And maybe you feel you didn't offend them, but they were offended. Then it's even more humbling. But life is meant to humble ourselves. That's the more humble we become, the more advanced we either become, or it's a symptom that we are advanced. So that's the name of the game. That's the goal. So that's an opportunity. Bhaktivinoda Thakur advises similar measures to mitigate the other 9 kinds of offenses. For instance, A devotee who has inadvertently vilified revealed scriptures should sincerely praise the same scriptures. For details on measures for the other 8 offenses, the reader can consult Sri Harinam Chintamani. I think the point is that you have to rectify by doing the opposite. So if you offend a devotee, praise them, honor them, ask for forgiveness. And if they're not present, then ask for that in your mind. Ask Krishna to forgive you. And then praise them in your mind and speak well of them to others. When you have the opportunity, or go out of your way to have the opportunity to just do it, just to kind of spin your actions and mentality in the opposite direction so you don't continue. If I'm inattentive, then I should be chanting with prayer and bhakti, because inattention is apathetic chanting. So I kind of switch to the opposite. So often the correction process is just to do the opposite. Yes? That makes sense? It's kind of a simple solution. Sometimes devotees bear the inauspiciousness that results from having committed offenses. Yet even after careful analysis, they cannot determine the specific offensive act. The remedy for these souls is to take shelter of the holy name and to chant incessantly, or as much as possible. In time, the effects of the offenses will diminish, and once again the offending devotee will gain the holy name's mercy. Later chapters discuss the unfortunate effects of offenses to the holy name and the intricacies of their removal. So, what's being explained here is that the holy name is our ultimate shelter. And because it's our ultimate shelter, then whenever we're in trouble, we take shelter of the holy name. And many letters of Prabhupada have written devotees who were having difficulties in life, which really didn't have easy material solutions, or may not have had any material solution. And Prabhupada just told them, take shelter of the holy name. That's all you can do. So sometimes that is all you can do. And there is no other solution. Of course, if there's something we can do to correct the situation, it doesn't mean we don't take shelter of the holy name, but we'll also make the effort to do whatever we can to correct it. As discussed here, you can approach the Vaishnava, you can ask for forgiveness, you can serve them, and so forth. Sometimes it's not possible. Sometimes the offenses are very deep. But Krishna is very kind. He always accepts us. So when we take shelter of the holy name, no matter what we've done, he'll accept us. As long as we're repentant and willing to accept the process and humble ourselves to the Guru, to the Vaishnavas, then Krishna will always accept us. We always have a place. Better we don't leave, but if we do make a mistake, we always have a place. If we take full shelter of the holy name in regret, in remorse, and in fact, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, I believe in Harinam Chintamani, or maybe Bhajanahasya, says that we should chant with remorse. And by chanting with remorse, for what? Remorse for having committed namaparad. That's what we should do. It's a nice mood that I've committed namaparad, and now I'm chanting, feeling bad that I've done it, because obviously, if you feel bad that you've done something, that means you're not going to do it again. At least in theory, that's how your remorse would purify you. I'm remorseful for chanting namaparad. In that remorse, I become purified, and then I become very careful not to commit any more namaparad. And by being in that mood, very quickly I'll become purified. So, again, chanting it's not just a process to get done every day, 16 rounds, but it's our main means of connecting with Krishna. It's our main means of purifying ourselves. And if we don't do it well, then we can easily start to become very much allured or even overcome by material desire. Okay. One offense in particular deserves special attention because it is both very serious and very common. Inattentive chanting of the holy name. Pramada. Despite avoiding all other offenses and being attentive to all other details of devotional service. If devotees are inattentive to the Lord's name, their chanting will not bear fruit. These offenders do not experience the ecstasy of the pure name. Rather, they sow the seeds of bad habits that soon sprout into weeds of material desire. So inattention is often a result of apathy, or apathy is often a result of inattention. But I would say apathy is at the foundation of inattention. I don't have a taste, and I'm not determined, and I don't care. That's a bad combination. So we're saying, I may not have a taste, but I'm determined to follow the process properly. That's the right mentality. So we don't want to give in when we don't have a taste, when we don't have a desire, we don't want to give in to that, because then that can lead to inattention. And then we're just chanting to get our rounds done because we don't really care. But because chanting is the process that's going to purify us, we do care, right? So we care enough to be determined. We care enough to be enthusiastic even when we don't feel enthusiastic. We care enough to put energy in and effort into our japa even when we don't have a taste. So that's the real key. We're putting this energy and we're putting this effort in. That's what helps us. I don't have a taste. I may not have a taste, but I put energy and effort. And of course, taste comes from that. And the vicious cycle is I don't have a taste. Therefore, I don't have the energy. I don't have the enthusiasm. So I allow myself to chant offensively, and I can't get a taste from offensive chanting. So it becomes a vicious cycle. So then, as I continue offensive chanting, then I will continue to chant with less taste, and therefore less determination, less enthusiasm. And my chanting is not producing any nectar, any relish, and so I become extremely inattentive. We have this word bored. So we become bored when we have no attraction for something. Yes? And so it's hard to be attentive to something that bores you to death. Despite avoiding all other offenses and being attentive to all other details of devotional service, if devotees are inattentive to the Lord's name, their chanting will not bear fruit. These offenders do not experience the ecstasy of the pure name. Rather, they sow the seeds of bad habits that soon sprout into weeds of material desire. So you have to be careful. How can the chanting of the holy name produce weeds? Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said it can produce weeds, unfortunately. Yes, it can. So be careful. Offensive chanting produces weeds. Haridas Thakur, the ultimate authority on the holy name, describes three kinds of inattentiveness: apathy, laziness, and distraction. These three are a synthesis of the five aforementioned obstacles to steady devotion. We weren't reading before, but he had mentioned during japa these are obstacles that tend to attack neophytes: sleep, distraction, laziness, apathy, like that. Sleep, yeah, you don't care. That's the problem. We stress them here again because inattentive chanting is the most common impediment to pure devotional service. It's basically the mantra is I don't care. And as long as that mantra is there, we're not going to chant well. But as soon as the mantra is I care, then we'll improve. At least we'll improve the effort. And we'll get better results if we improve the effort. Right? You agree? I agree. Apathy refers to indifference or lack of enthusiasm in chanting. Laziness refers to dozing or not caring to pronounce the Lord's name properly. And distraction refers to allowing the senses and mind to wander to sense objects. All of these, especially distraction, which is extremely difficult to overcome, result in a loss of interest in chanting and other devotional practices. When devotees lose interest in receiving Bhakti Devi's shelter, they are beset by an intense hankering for wealth, sex, position, and other anarthas. So, if all conditioned souls want these things, but if you're finding a strong attraction to these things, perhaps as strong as when you came to Krishna consciousness, or nearly as strong, or even stronger, or you're noticing that, last year I wasn't feeling these strong pullings of the material world, and now I'm feeling them, then you have to look at your chanting, because it's the chanting, it's the main thing that's protecting us. It's the main gift of Lord Chaitanya. It's the secret weapon. It's where we get our power. So you always want to look at that first, right? Because when that goes down, everything else goes with it. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur provides the following formidable list of anarthas that result from chanting without trying to give up offenses, and particularly from inattentive chanting. Here they are. So you can note if you're being affected by these. Desires for liberation, desires for yoga siddhis, desires for material enjoyment, diplomatic behavior, illicit connection with women, making a show of devotional service, caste consciousness, spiritual pride, attachment to sinful activities, classifying Vaishnavas according to birth, making business from devotional service, or illegal profiteering. That's one. Making business from devotional service or illegal profiteering. The one time Prabhupada said, if you do business with devotees, don't try to get rich off devotees. That's the point. Or doing something illegal to make money. Desiring mundane reputation or cheap recognition. Desiring adoration and philosophical deviation. Philosophical deviation would also come from losing faith in Prabhupada, and or losing faith in Bhakti, or having faith in some other Vaishnava who disagrees with Prabhupada. How can devotees stop chanting inattentively? Surely every individual and collective problem in our society is stemmed from this root anartha. The first step is to desire a solution. Once devotees realize that they need to improve, they should chant daily and for prolonged periods in the company of advanced devotees who have spontaneous anurag for the holy name. They should study the behavior of offenseless chanters, emulate their mood, and inquire for them how to overcome inattentiveness. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, it's a little secret for you. When you're chanting, sit next to a pure Vaishnava who's chanting the pure holy name, or sit next to an advanced devotee who's certainly chanting the holy name better than you. So if you're ever in a temple and you see a very advanced devotee has come, or is there every day, or is visiting, sit next to them when you chant. You'll feel something. You'll feel their bhakti. It'll help your chanting. Example and guidance of advanced devotees will certainly inspire neophytes to cast off shackles of apathy, laziness, and distractionness. So advancement is like, association of advanced devotees is one of the panacea remedies for all your problems. So if you ever have a problem, just find an advanced devotee and associate with them. And usually your problem will go away. If that devotee is very advanced, and that devotee is free from that problem, just by being in their presence, your problem starts to shrink. And you start to feel that the problem is really kind of stupid. I don't know if you ever felt that way. But often when you have a problem, the problems seem very big or very important. I have to have this, I have to do this. But when you associate with more advanced devotees, you don't feel that way. You feel like the problem's kind of stupid. Don't you? I do. I often feel that way. Okay. So we have a few more minutes. Um, and so what he's also saying is, the point I've been making, I always make, the first step to a solution is to recognize you have a problem. A lot of devotees are not chanting well, and they don't even realize that there's any other way to chant. So to know what's right, you have to know what's wrong, and to know what's wrong, you have to know what's right. You have to know what the standard is, right? Isn't it? Isn't it? You have to know what the standard is. It's like, you teach somebody to cook and say, this is how it's supposed to taste. So if you don't know how it's supposed to taste, then you'll make it and you'll think it's fine. And then the connoisseur will taste it and say, no, it's wrong. It's got too much of this or too little of that. It was cooked too long. It wasn't cooked long enough. You don't know. It tastes good to you. Or maybe that's how you always made it, so you think that's how it's supposed to be. Oh, this is how I've always chanted. All right, but it's the wrong way. So you have to recognize there's a problem, and you recognize the problem by knowing what the standard is. And then, next stage, obviously, the desire to correct it, and then learning what you have to do to correct it. So they should study the behavior of offenseless chanters. Emulate their mood and inquire from them how to improve, how to overcome inattentiveness. The example and guidance of advanced devotees will certainly inspire neophytes to cast off the obstacles of apathy, laziness, and distraction. Definitely. Neophyte devotees should also beg for the mercy of the holy name and the owner of the holy name, Lord Krishna. Chanting regularly before Tulsi Dev, serious neophytes empowered by great devotees and by the Lord himself will certainly come to the stage of offenseless chanting. Yeah, so Tulsi Devi is a pure devotee and she'll empower you. In this way, by saintly association, freedom from distractions, and determined, confident enthusiasm, the neophyte's devotional practice becomes steady. So we're going to end class here. And yes. Guru Nishta. I have my, all right, I'll mark it. I have another way to mark it. I have many markings here. So for me, it's the morning. For some of you, it's the morning. And you can go, with this enthusiasm, you can go chant. For others, it's the night. You can meditate on this. And tomorrow, make your efforts to improve your chanting. And now the sun has come out. You don't have to see me in the dark. But now class has come to an end. So if you have no questions, I'll wait a few moments and see if you have any questions. And Gurnishta, can you see if you can download the audio and send it to me and put it up on SoundCloud, because I forgot to. I didn't have the card in my recorder, so I didn't record it separately from this. Is that okay? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. I have to do the 20-second countdown because or 40 seconds. It takes you 20 seconds to hear me ask you if you want to ask a question. Then maybe you have to think for 20 seconds, and maybe you write it in, and it takes a little time. So, should we summarize? Yes. Anarthas will be there. We have to tolerate them. Still be enthusiastic no matter what, because our goal is so important that we'll never give up our goal, no matter how difficult it is. And we want to be careful not to offend the holy name, offend the Vaishnavas, which offending Vaishnavas is one of the offenses to the holy name, because the holy name gives us our power, where we get our shakti. Okay? So, I think we can end here. And Hare Krishna to all of you, and we'll see you tomorrow. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.